All right, welcome to bonus video number 1. So this is a tool I discovered a while ago that I'm not sure why people don't talk about this more, but this is a PSA I shot maybe a year ago, and we were in a tight stairwell, and I couldn't get the shape on the face that I kind of wanted, and I discovered after, this is already exported in Rec 709, this is working on the final, there is a plugin in the studio version called Face Refinement. If you go in and you add it, you can click on detect faces in the frame and it'll detect it. Then you click this before and after, track forward and back, and it'll show you the face, and you can see it tracks the face really well. We're gonna take the overlay off. Now, there are a lot of effects in here like beautify, lift eyelids, yada, yada, yada. Those look good, but I would use them sparingly because they can look pretty hokey pokey in my honest opinion. But there's this one thing called side lighting here. And I don't know why people don't use this more, but I'm always on set trying to maximize contrast on the face, but I can't always walk a neg or a solid in on shadow side. This plugin actually can change the shape on a face without having to power window the whole frame. So if you look here, it gives me the options for lift gamma gain on the left, which means the left side of their face, and the right, which is the right side of their face. So if I raise the gain on their left side of their face and I pull down the gamma on their right side, if I on off that node, you can see I'm almost changing the shape on someone's face, and you would never know. Like, to do this before, you would have to power window and do crazy thing. It's unbelievable what this one will do. So I'd probably say that's a little heavy-handed, so I'll go down to 70%. But as you can see here, you can actually, in a quick shot, change the shape of a face. So if you have a 2 to 3 second shot or an interview where you're like, oh, I just wish I could bring the key up or bring the shadow side down, this is really, really great. Somewhat like there's so much control within the face refinement, but once again, I would use this sparingly because I think that it can start to get a little artificial. So if we're looking at eye bag removal, like you can lift their eye bags a bit. That looks pretty good, especially if you're working in like the commercial world. I would stay away from sharpening or brightening. Starts to look like a little false to me, like it looks too VFX-y. But like the eye bag removal is good. You can go through and play around with all of these, like you're not having to power window. Like you can go with specific sections of the face. Like let's say you got someone who had a shiny forehead, you can smooth out their forehead, and you can see if I do a before and after, just how great that looks out of the box. So I would play around with the face removal, but the biggest thing would be this side lighting thing. Like you can just change the shape on a face that I've always wanted colorists to do to me, and there's just certain times where you can't get the lighting you want on set and you just want to finesse things another 10-15% in post, and face refinement, it's really, really solid. So I would play around with that. The next bonus feature I want to talk about is the depth map plugin within Resolve. So sometimes you want to draw power windows for days and isolate things in your image that way, but the depth map will actually pick apart sections of your image using depth cues. So like the back of your image, the foreground. It's pretty wild how much control you can get with this tool. So I want to show on this clip here of something that Mark and I shot. So I'm gonna go to my effects tabs here. I'm gonna do Alt-P to add a parallel node, and I'm gonna drag the depth map down. So it's gonna do a preview. If you go down to isolation, it's gonna show which part of the image you're working on. So I'm gonna go like this, and then I'm gonna invert it. So it's working on only the background. I'm gonna change my tolerance around like that. So right now, as you can see, anything that's white, that's what I'm working on. I'm gonna soften, and I'm gonna show you. Okay, working on the back. I'm gonna take the depth map preview off. So I'm gonna go with better and not faster. So as you can see, if I bring down my black level, it's only affecting her, or only affecting the background, and look at, it's leaving her alone. Like it's insane the level of control you can get. Because if you're ever on set with an interview and you're like, oh, my background's lighter than, like, my ratios for my foreground and background weren't exact, you can affect things by half a stop in either direction with this depth map plugin, which is insane to me. I know some people are using the Magic Mask. I think that's more of a processor hog than this plugin. And I think most of the time when people want to use the Magic Mask, this is actually a better fit for them. So depth map is insane. So one thing I wanted to do with this clip here, it isn't so much that my background ratio was off. I think I do want to bring down the black level a bit because we hazed the room up. So I'll do that. But mainly this patch of blue, I think was a little too cyan-y versus our tube we had there. So I'm basically saying, let's leave our blue in the foreground alone. Let's select for this with our hue versus hue. And then if we drag down, it swings the hue to the right side. If we drag up, it swings it to the left. So you can see I have it going green there, but I want it to be more blue, less cyan-y. That's probably too purpley. And if we go to our vector scope, we can probably see. So you see how it has that little spike there? I'm trying to take that back and get it in line with the other stuff. So I'd probably say even a hue rotate. So you can see a before and after, like pretty crazy the level of detail you get. And then the depth map is not something you have to track. It's something that'll stay through a whole clip, which I like it better than the Magic Mask for that reason. So pretty wild stuff, to be honest. Let's do it to one more clip. I shot this commercial with Max Domi where we were on, let's pick a good second, where we were on a LED volume wall. And one thing with the LED volume walls is you get to pick the exposure to which things are set at. And I think I was a little dark on the background here. So I'm gonna apply my power grade. We framed this for 16:9, so I'm just gonna zoom up and then I'm gonna do a quick pass on everything. So HDR, let's come up half a stop. I'm notorious for underexposing because that's just how I like to work. Let's take our contrast down a bit. White balance is looking good. Under primaries, I might go up 1 point on the mid-tone. Cyan look, I'm biting on that. Let's come in here and really focus on max. Let's check our halation. Let's pick up to just that. That's good. Let's really go with the glow. I find when you're doing volume wall stuff, the more like effects you can do after the fact helps blend your foreground and background. So, I mean, that's looking pretty nice there. Maybe we'll do a little bleachy bypass there. Grain sharpness, that's looking good. On my out, I might even up my lens blur here to 2.5 just to help mix our foreground and background. But okay, so one thing I try to do with my images is I try to have all my light motivated from somewhere in the frame. So you see this hard kicker light on Max's left side of his face. If I zoom in there, it's like this light here. That's supposed to be motivated from this Toronto skyline here. And in general, the brightest thing in your scene should usually be the motivation of your lighting. So I think this highlight on his face was actually a little bit brighter. We can go to our qualifier, a little bit brighter. If I go to show picker value, it's coming in at reds 219. And if I go here, it's like 187. So my light's actually brighter than what would be motivating it, which it would never happen in that real world. So if I go and I add my depth map, and we take a look and we go to isolate specific depth, and I say, okay, there's max, let's invert it, take the preview off, and then if I say, let's increase the exposure in the back, like that, I on off that, it almost feels more realistic to me because now these guys, even go up a bit more, these highlights here are sitting around the same highlights as what's on Max's face. So I believe it more when we say that like, oh, that light would be motivating that kicker. So once again, something I should have done on set, but it doesn't always work out that way. And the depth map is, I don't know, I love it. I would highly vouch for this plugin. So play around. It's not going to be used on every clip, but occasionally you get a clip where you want to change the ratios from your background to your foreground, and this is the guy to do it with. There is a plugin that I cannot stop raving about. However, I will mention that it is a paid plugin called Scatter, and I think it is from the same people that do Filmbox. Let's take it. So Video Village is the company that does it. And so there is this plugin called Scatter. Since I purchased this plugin, I no longer use diffusion filters on my camera, which is an insane thing to say. So I do want to give it a bit of a shout out because I think there's going to be a lot of people out there that will be blown away by what this can do. So you know how you would put a black Pro Mist in front of your camera? This can mimic a bunch of different filters with a bunch of different color spaces at a bunch of different intensities. It's really great. So I'm gonna show you. I think it's $200 a year, but I mean, I'd rather show you here as a bonus video than not know it exists. So I have a shot here from a FedEx commercial I did. I'm gonna do Shift S to do a node previous to my HDR. So remember, if we're working before our CST, that's the original color space. So this is gonna be log C4 because it's the Alexa 35. I'm gonna pull up my Scatter plugin and then check this out. So we're already log C4 and I'm gonna full screen here. I have it set to black Pro Mist and quarter strength. Check out the lights here. It looks like I had a quarter black Pro Mist in camera. It is insane. So I will say, since purchasing this, I have done away with Pro Mists. Or yeah, I've done away with diffusion filters in camera. So you can go intensity 1, obviously that's too much, but you can control the intensity in between clips. Also, they have everything from a black diffusion, black frost, classic soft, like you get to pick and choose the look in post, which is, it's insane to me because there's so many times that you might be on set and you're like, oh, that was too much filter or that wasn't enough. And here you can choose the amount of filtration that you want in your scene. It almost looks like we hazed the room. It looks like we had a filter in front of the camera. I would say it's 99% of the way there. It's pretty insane. So if we go to, I'll go to some crisp footage here. So we had no filtration. We had 4 different cameras running, so we couldn't have even afforded to match the filtration if we tried. I'm gonna do Shift S. I'm gonna add the Scatter plugin. This was Alexa Mini LF, so that's ARRI Log C. And you can see, like, look at the window there. That's without and that's with. Like, it looks like I had a Pro Mist in camera. You want to sample what a glimmer glass would do? Hey, there you go. Not enough? Well, let's bump that up to a 1. Too much? Hey, down to an 1/8. There we go. Like, there are filters on here that I didn't even know about, but it's taught me like what the different filters do. It's just, it's insane. Like that little last detail, and you can do it at the color space. You can change the intensity. You can affect the focal length. So that'll depend on how much, like, the longer the focal length, the higher the strength, the lower, like, you just get so much control from this plugin on that last little, like, just making it look beautiful. It's pretty crazy. So like if we go to, this was Nikon footage as we remember, and we'll go to a shot where he's pulling it. Go to Scatter, check down here, and then we'll go to Nikon N-Log. And then let's say we wanted a half ProMist, like look it up here, just how much that kind of blooms out and softens up the image. Like it looks to me like a real filter. So maybe I'm making more of a big deal of this than everybody else would, but for 200 bucks a year, to me, it's a no-brainer. I use this plugin all the time, especially for matching shots in post. You can pick and choose the amount of diffusion filter versus halation. It's, yeah, I don't know. It's very, very cool. I would recommend highly picking it up. All right, let's chat the Patch Replacer, which is the next kind of bonus plugin I will be talking about. So I have an interview here. This was S-Log3 footage. So let me see, that's too dark. There we go, that looks good. Let's apply our S-Log3 power grade, and I'm gonna do a quick pass here. Exposure actually looks pretty good. I might just, in our HDR tab, decrease the contrast a bit. Change exposure down. In my primaries, take gain down and then shadow lift up, highlights down. And then the skin's feeling a bit greeny to me. It might be okay, but I'm gonna add a 1/2 point of magenta. Yeah, just to kind of nudge that along. I like the cyan, but let's dial it back. I think Mark had a ProMist on here. The glow looks pretty intense. This is all not the Patch Replacer. This is just me quickly balancing things. All right, so that shot's looking good to me there. Maybe do a booty blue. Awesome. Okay. Perfect. I would say, okay, let's get into the Patch Replacer. There's probably a couple other things I would want to do to, the key light seems like it's a bit strong here. Yeah, I would almost want to take him down without affecting the background. So actually, you know what? Let's do a little depth map, and then we'll get into the Patch Replacer. So we'll get our depth map, better, isolate. Let's select just him, and then we'll soften it less. And then I'm gonna use this in coincidence with a power window. So I'll go like this. So we're getting depth map and power window, so I can keep the hard on his face, or keep the hard on the body, sorry. So if I do Shift H, this is everything I'm affecting here. So I'm gonna go like this, and then if you see, if I drag it down, I'm just affecting the face, but we're still getting this hard on the body. So that just helps dial down the face. Okay, so now into the Patch Replacer. So I'm gonna add another parallel node here after my Rec 709, and I'm gonna add the Patch Replacer. What the Patch Replacer is it's basically a way of like painting out things on static shots. So if you've ever done an interview in Premiere Pro, you would duplicate the clip, mask, overlay, opacity. Well, you can actually do that in the color here. So in the Patch Replacer, you add it, and we're gonna go to rectangle. So let's say I had this little like light switchy guy in the background that I wanted to remove. You have one that previews what you're pulling from, and one that you're pulling from what you're going to be taking away from. So I'm gonna move over and I'm gonna do this. So let's say client was like, oh, we love this, but we don't want the light switch on the wall. Well, I would just pull from this and then go off. And then I gotta feather that in. Let's zoom, 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 zoom. Let's go back to our open effects. Largen this up, pop it off. Blur edges. There we go. Then we pop out, and as you can see, I'll label this patch replacer. So this will have the same tonality, the same grain structure, and you can see we painted out that light switch or whatever that is on the back. So you can do like these tiny cleanups that I find like VFX used to take care of that color takes care of now. So yeah, pretty good stuff. All right, so that is the patch replacer. If you ever need to paint out something on a static shot and you don't want to do it through multiple layers of masking clips in Premiere or Final Cut, I would just do it here in the color page and just patch it out there. The last plugin I want to talk about is the false color plugin in DaVinci Resolve. And I don't think this is necessarily a color specific plugin, but it's something that I haven't heard anyone else really talk about, and I use it quite a bit. So when I'm entering a shoot, I pull a bunch of reference images, and the way I monitor my exposure on set sometimes is by using false color. As you can see here, like I'm going over and I'm seeing like where the skin is sitting, what the ratio is like, what's in the background, where the highlights are. So I used to shoot over my reference images to my small HD, but you can now actually, if you add a node, you can go to your false color app in the effects and go to creative, and you have the small HD false color here. And it gives you the chart. So if we full screen here, so I can actually see that like, okay, there's a little highlight on the kid's face that's probably coming in around 60, 65 RE. Rest of the skin sitting at like 30 to 20. So I can actually see the patterns on my reference images. So I can lock that into my brain when I'm going to the shoot being like, okay, so let's see this shot here. Like, where is that curtain sitting? Oh, it's okay to have a window sitting at almost 100 IRE. Her skin is sitting around the 30 to 50 range. Rest of the image is falling there. So like I'm starting to see what patterns I can go into a shoot with. Like see this shot here, let's apply false color. What's that hot chunk of her skin? Oh, it's actually breaching into the yellow. So it's actually okay to have a highlight on the skin, probably crossing into like the high 60s, high 70s, and that looks pretty good to me. So the false color is a great reference tool if you're ever looking to be like, okay, like what pattern should I be looking for when I'm on set? Like for instance, this shot here, let's see, like we got a little bit of red in there and some yellow and some green. So like we're talking 80, 70, but that's not reaching around the full skin. That's just like a highlight kicker on her face. So I know on set, well, if I have something that's reading that hot, I shouldn't be scared because I fell in love with that with my reference images. So yeah, I don't know. The false color app or plugin in Resolve, really great tool in like if you use it with your waveform, just seeing like where values sit, like patterns, like this looks like flat lighting to me, but if we open it up, we can probably see like, okay, probably a top light because it's a little bit hotter here. And then the nose is getting hit. So I can probably tell if I want to light this scene, it's technically a super soft top light because that's where the light would be emanating from. So false color plugin, it's a great check of your own work, but also going into shooting your own projects with your reference images. I would just sit down for 20 minutes and run the false color app on your reference images because then you can see like where values are sitting and what you should be looking out for on your project.